Welcome to Yeukai Business Show, UK's premier business show where we feature business thought leaders, high achievers, and industry experts. Today's episode is brought to you by World Outsourcing Solutions Limited, a company that specializes in helping executive business owners with virtual assistant services and business growth systems. Here's your host.
Hi everyone and welcome to the show. It's Trevor Stockwell here with you today, along with my guest Monica. Now Monica's the founder and CEO of Decide to Move LLC. Monica helps business owners get back in the game and attract their ideal clients. And she does this in lots of different ways through consulting and coaching. She's also a business strategist. She's a best-selling author. She hosts a podcast and she's a speaker and a trainer. So lots more I could say about her, but you get the idea. She's a very talented lady. So welcome, Monica Bijoux.
Hi, thank you so much for having me, Travis. I'm excited to be here.
You're welcome. Yeah, it's really good to have the opportunity to chat with you. So maybe to kick us off, before we start digging into your expertise, tell us a little bit about your journey that's got you to where you are now.
Ooh, my journey has been a long one, but as far as just kind of like keeping it short, just from a personal standpoint, I've been through a lot of different things in my life, growing up with homelessness, childhood abuse, and different things like that. And so from that standpoint, I always had this passion to give, to help those that I come in contact with. Like that has always been my passion. So I became a therapist. So I'm in the military. I work with pretty much PTSD is my specialty. So that literally covers so many spectrums for people, right? And then I actually had a coaching business before I came into the military and before I became a fully licensed as a therapist. And when I got commissioned to come in, I had to give my coaching business up. But I was like, man, I really love coaching. I really love helping businesses and entrepreneurs and people who are aspiring to be entrepreneurs grow. So when you go into the military as an officer, you're not allowed to have a business when you're first starting out. So I put my business a bit, aside, or actually I laid rest to it and came in and I moved around a lot. And then the last place I was in South Korea before I left, I said, you know what, I need to start my business again. And the reason why is because I kept seeing how after I'm working with my therapy clients, I would have to take off that therapy hat, put on a business coaching hat, and help them as they're transitioning out of the service or separating or really attempting to figure out what they wanted to do next. And so many of them didn't. Like they've been in that uniform for such a long time. What do I do next? Who am I? Who am I going to be outside of it? So I started seeing myself do that more and more, but then also having friends that were in business were still dealing with like the imposter syndrome, mindset issues and stuff like that. And so I was like, okay, it's time to take and start my business. So once I came back to the States in 2018, I started my business, and that's, where it started a little bit. So that's a short version of my journey.
Wow. Yeah. So it's there's kind of two different areas. There's people that are leaving the military. They've been successful in the military, and then it's like, civilian life is different. So you help them sort of get back in the game that way, but also you help business owners that have been successful to some degree, and for whatever reason they've kind of lost their edge, and they need sort of like your expertise to help refocus them, I guess. Like you mentioned mindset. It's easy if we're not careful, isn't it, to adopt and just allow the wrong kind of thinking to shape what we do, how we see ourselves, how we see others as well. So that's really good. God, lots of questions I could ask you on just those couple of things. Maybe what would be one of the first things that you would say to somebody then that they come to you and they say, I have lost the edge somewhere. I was successful, but somewhere along the line I lost it. What would be maybe the first few steps that would help people?
Yes. So I can answer that in a couple ways, because first, like now I've actually kind of changed my shift of really just helping those business and entrepreneurs, but I call them high achievers. Those are people who've been successful in one part of their business and now they're making a transition. They want to become their own business owners, those entrepreneurs, or like you said, they're business owners. They've already because you can be an entrepreneur and work for have these small little jobs, but now you're like, you know what, this is not what I wanted to do. So the first thing I would say to a person who's lost the edge is, what is your why? Why did you start that business in the first place? And then why do you want to be an entrepreneur? Because knowing those questions, those answers will help you determine if you're on the right path. Right. So understanding your why. Why are you even in that? The other thing is to figure out who do you really want to serve. Oftentimes as entrepreneurs, I know when I first started back, like got back into, the game myself and started my business again, I was not clear on who I wanted to serve. And most times this is what I hear when I ask entrepreneurs or high achievers, what do you want to do? Who do you want to serve? They go, everybody. Yeah, that means you want to serve nobody, right? Because you're not really clear on what problem do you solve? Well, I could do so many different things. Okay, so nobody really understands exactly what you do and how you do it. Yeah. So it makes it very difficult for a person to connect with you. So just starting from the very basic is why, and then what do you exactly, like what problem do you solve and who do you want to serve? So that can kind of help from that little standpoint. Those are the foundational things that's necessary.
Yeah. No, that's really good. I think, it's easy to just almost gloss over that, try and help the whole planet, and then get a bit disillusioned because nobody's listening to you. Yeah. So once we've maybe defined our why and we know what sort of area or what pain we're helping people solve, maybe is a good way of putting it. How can what would be some of the things that you've seen where we just fall over? We're not connecting what we say to reaching the people that we want to reach.
You said it, messaging. That's the next thing I have people do is to figure out their messaging. When you know your messaging, the whole time that you're talking, you want a person to go, oh, that's me. Like I help. Who do you help? Oh, that's me. And what are you helping them do? What's the struggle? What's the pain point? Oh, yep, I got that. And then the last part is, what do you want to, what is going to be the outcome when they're done working with you? Yep, I want to have that. And so the whole time that you're talking and getting your messaging and explain what you do, that person is able to recognize that that's them, or they're able to say, you know what, I know someone that can fit that fits that description. So as a entrepreneur, business owner, the whole time that you're talking to someone, even if it's supplies, even if you're selling a supply, why should that person buy that supply? What is that going to do for them? So the whole time in that messaging, it's resonating with that person you're talking to. That's why saying I help people does not resonate, because people, it's like you narrow that one person. And as you're talking to that one person, that person is the whole time like, they're talking to me. It's like, have you ever been in church before and you're like, he's convicted me, the pastor's talking to me. And it's like, no, there's a whole bunch of people in here. No, it's not. But the way the message hits, it's like as if it's an individual conversation. That's the same way, not saying that church needs to be the way that you give your message, but you want it to be where the person feels like you're talking to them directly.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a really good way of putting it, actually. Yeah. And I guess there's a certain level of experimentation within that, isn't it? Testing the waters as to, because what you think is the language of your potential client, might actually be slightly different. And are there any tips that you've kind of come across that can help people that may be listening and are struggling with that very issue? Any kind of tips as to how would they navigate that?
Yeah, so do your market research. There's a market research where you actually go to the places where your clients are and ask them if they're willing to do like a market research. It's like 8 questions and you're asking them simple questions as if, like, hey, what are some of the, like if you have a product or service that you're interested in investing or starting and you're finding the person who you feel that will fit that, you ask them specific questions that would help them. Like you're getting their language, their words. And so when you're doing your messaging, you're using your client's exact words back to them, because oftentimes what we do is we go by what we think that person wants instead of actually getting your client's words. So if I use the words like, I'm trying to think of something like a word where I'm like, oh, I help people focus. Is that the word that my clients are actually saying, that they need more focus? Or they're saying stuff like, I find myself not being able to, concentrate, or I find myself not being able to remember the things that I was dealing with, or, I'm walking down the road and I'm wondering, next thing I'm at 20 steps later and I don't know where I was. those are the kind of things that you want to use in your messaging. So especially when you're doing like Facebook ads or anything that's dealing with sales pages, you're using your client's words. You're not going to use the words that sounds good to you. And oftentimes what we do is we use these big flowery words. If I have to get a dictionary, even though I know what it means, because I'm, pretty much finishing all but dissertation for my doctorate, I don't want to go look it up. And if I have to look it up, you've already lost me. Yeah. So oftentimes they'll tell you to write things on a fourth grade level, which is like a 12-year-old. And it's not because people are dumb. It's just that they want to, if they're stressed, overwhelmed, or anything else like that, you wanted to penetrate them in the space that they're at. And so when we're in our fight, flight, or freeze, or overwhelmed or stressed, a 12-year-old's mindset is what we take on. So that's why people make sure that, to make sure that your messaging is on that level.
Yeah, it really is we try and impress people with too many words, and it's just like, no, just give it to me straight. What do you do? Can you help me? If not, I'll find someone that can. Yeah,
exactly.
That's a really good, I think for everyone listening, if you don't catch anything else from our conversation today, that by itself was worth you tuning in. Hopefully you'll stay with us because there's more. But yeah, just that, really let that sink in and just do your research, as you say, find the words that they're using. It's a really good way of putting it. I've not heard it quite like that before. And that is it's like, why would we use a language that isn't our client's language and expect to reach them? Yeah, no, I like that.
Exactly.
I've learned a good way of, strategizing that. So that's good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
One of the other ways, there's lots of ways you help people. You help people, particularly businesses, make more of a meaningful impact by reaching the ideal clients and not getting lost in all of it. But also you help individuals with their visibility and some of their credibility. Unwrap a little bit of that for us. I know you do like masterminds and courses on it, so we're not going to get into all of it now, but just give us a flavor of the sort of things that involves.
Most definitely. So visibility is super huge. I mean, like, if you don't want to be considered the best known kept secret, right? You don't want to be kept the person that everybody, nobody really knows. Like, you're like, I have such great products and I have such good things to offer, but no one is buying from me. Well, no one knows who you are. So the more visible you are, the more you're out there. And, of course, there's going to be, as you're listening and you're like, but I don't like doing Facebook Lives and I don't like to be on Instagram and I'm not a TikToker. That's fine. You find other ways to do that, right? Whether it's be on the news or in social media. Like I do podcasts. I'm a therapist. I love talking, obviously, but I'm not a Facebook Live kind of person. You're not going to catch me doing a whole bunch of Facebook Lives. That is just not my jam. However, like my podcast was on Ticker News in Australia, or I've written several books. I'm a best-selling author, international best-selling author. So I have different ways that I'm being visible. I have my credibility and I'm gaining authority in the space that I'm in. So when I'm speaking, I can actually intellectually talk about it and say, well, in the book that I was the co-author of, or when I was on the news of this, and that. So people, that's how you actually end up getting yourself out there and gaining that visibility, the credibility and authority in your own space that people can't take from you because of the fact that you're showing up. So in that little nutshell.
Absolutely. No, there's a lot in that. Yeah. It's finding the mix, I think, of the strengths that you have along with where your clients are, isn't it? There is a balance there. I think you're right. The credibility is mixed with the authenticity, and it's like, yeah, if Facebook Live doesn't do it for you, that's fine. Who's to say your ideal client is on Facebook anyway? You found that you reach them through books, through your courses and podcasts and lots of other areas. So yeah, I think that's a really practical thing people can chuck in the mix as they hopefully every now and again review their actions, what they're doing. Is it working? How can I make things better? What am I doing that I shouldn't do anymore because it's wearing me out and it's not bringing any revenue? All those sorts of things. They're really practical things to chuck in that. So thank you for that. That's really good. I like your perspective on it. And I guess some of that, because you've got the sort of the philosophy background, is that like a natural then that you see things in the way that people behave within business, and it's easy to spot that's not actually working for you? Or
I think it's a gift that I got way before school. Like I always tell people, my education is something that is needed for the world to know that I'm capable of doing what I do. Like as a therapist, I have to be licensed, and getting my doctorate in conscious business ethics helps when you're working with corporations to know, oh yeah, you're qualified. They see doctor and they're like, oh, you're qualified to teach us. And it's like, dude, I was qualified before I even got this degree, but okay, right? So to me, it's just a piece of paper, but I think it's a gift and an instinct that I've had since I was a little girl, of being able to pick up on people's issues and stuff that's going on with them, and be able to tell. So when I'm working with my private clients, I'm able to tell based on working with them exactly what's keeping them from growing in their business, or if they haven't started yet, what's the limiting beliefs they have from even starting their business. And then along the journey, if I'm seeing resistance, I find out exactly what some of that stuff, what's happening and what's going on. So it allows them to be able to continue to grow the whole step of the way. And I'm not just throwing all these strategies at them that's not personalized and according to them. Like one of my clients in particular was like, oh my God, I just want to say thank you for not telling me to do Facebook Lives. I was like, if I would have made that recommendation, would you have done it? She's like, no. I said, exactly, because I know your personality and I know that that's not your style. So I'm not going to give you things that's not according to who you are. And I had, she worked with someone else when she was writing a book. And the person was telling them, do Facebook Lives. And this coach was wondering why people were resistant. I'm like, it's because you're not reaching them or giving them strategies based on who they are as a person. Yeah. So it's not them being resistant necessarily to you. It's resistant to the place of you giving them a strategy that's just not conducive to their personality. And that's so huge and important, I think, as business coaches, to take their one and only little strategy they have and expand their reach and their ability to help their clients. And I often find that a lot of coaches struggle with that.
Yeah. So you're well known, particularly amongst your clients, to have this knack, if you like, this expertise to find the jewel that they have. And to me, it sounds that you've just told us how you do that. Really, you don't try and force on them things that won't fit them, but you're actually, through intuition and your life experience, I guess, amongst a lot of other things, as well as your academic expertise, you're able to spot the person, the individual, what works for them, and flow with that, isn't it? If we build on our strengths, we're going to be a lot more successful than if we try and improve our weak areas, unless they're critical that you have to get them to a certain level. But generally, we waste so much time working on the weak areas to try and get them to kind of average, when really we should be spending our efforts and the way we market ourselves on the areas that best work with who we are, our personalities, how we express ourselves. Not that it's all about us, but it's us we're trying to market to help other people, isn't it? So we have to get the right mix for that to happen. So yeah, no,
exactly. And I use other strategies too. I use like certain things to help them understand what their mindset is, just different things that I actually help them go through, and that way I'm able to see exactly what really is happening compared to them saying, oh yeah, I really want to make $100 million or seven figures. And they don't have any good mindset around money. Like they don't believe that they're worth that much, or if even believe that they are capable of asking for the money that they deserve. So it's really it's a lot of different strategies that I use to put in place to really help my clients, whatever they want to achieve.
Yeah, no, that's really good. And it's working, isn't it? It really is working. You're helping lots of people. So that's amazing. Let's, if I may, partly a curiosity element from my perspective, really. You touched a little bit on your background. You could have very easily just been a victim and blamed everybody for it. How did you transition from that to turning it around to your benefit, if that's the right way of saying it, to then be able to help others?
Yeah, most definitely. Well, because I realized that people hurt people. right? And, growing up with my mother's mother, when my mom, she left when I was 4, and we lived with her mother, and her mother was very abusive, physically and emotional. And then of course there was the sexual piece from uncles. But I realized that hurt people, and then understanding their story and listening. And most times when we've been hurt, we don't want to hear the other person's story. We don't, of course it's like, yeah, but you hurt me. Yeah, but kind of thing. And I'm like, the word but devalues anything outside of what you said beforehand. And so I was invested in hearing and understanding my mom's story. It doesn't take away what happened, but what it does is allow me to say, okay, you know what? You did the best that you could with what you had, and I'm going to put it at that. But I'm going to make it a point to not repeat that same journey, or lack of word, it wasn't really a journey, that same abuse to my daughter. And I'm going to make sure that doesn't continue on, is something that I have to carry. And I have a choice in everything you do. You have a choice. And I'm talking to all the listeners. You have a choice of either staying stuck and saying, woe is me. Yeah, but you don't understand what they did. Yeah, I do understand, because been there, done that. I got the, t-shirt, the underwear, the sunglasses to prove it, right? However, I can choose to say, yeah, but I'm not going to allow that person to have an anchor around my ankle to keep me from moving forward, because that's what happens when we go into that victim mentality. We're still giving that person power over us. And that's something that I refuse to let anyone have power over me. That does not, well, no one really deserves to have power but the person that I serve, my higher power. But, not putting yourself in a situation where you are stifled based on what other people have done. That's their issue, not yours. So, and I made it a point of realizing I'm not what was done to me. And that's how I continue to move forward and not allow myself to become a victim.
Wow. Yeah. That's why you can help people so powerfully. That's really good. So thank you for sharing that as well. I think it's important, because that can be the very thing that trips people up and stops them progressing to the point where they put themselves out there to help other people. There's a danger you can become too focused on just that. You hold on to stuff, you don't work out the forgiveness side of it, and then you become trapped in your own circumstances. I'm not an expert in therapy and all of that, so that's just my take on it. But yeah, I've seen the power of forgiveness and what happens when we don't let go of stuff that we can't change anymore. It's happened, it's past. So yeah, no, that's really good. I think that's one of the reasons why you're as effective as you are, because you've been able to draw from that experience and relate to people at different levels. And it builds tenacity, builds resilience as well, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Yeah, that's really good. So thank you for sharing that, and all the way you're helping people as well. Tell us a little bit about, you do certain programs, don't you? So we touched a little bit on the 3 steps and that, but dig into that a bit more. What would somebody that's thinking, I need Monica's input in my life, what would be some of the things that they could kind of explore with you?
Yeah, so there's different ways. I have a program called Client Attraction List Builder, and those are for people who need that foundation built for their business. They have no clue who they serve, their messaging or anything else like that, kind of what we were talking about before. So I take them through that. That's the foundation, building their email list, helping them, build a consultation funnel, like that whole bit. Then I also have my podcast course where I help people actually start their own podcast to help with their visibility, their brand. It's called Podcast Your Brilliance. And, and learning how to actually get yourself out there and be known and be recognized for the great things that you do, and then be able to connect with people. Podcasting to me has been one of the biggest and the best things that I've added to my business. The other course that I teach is how to help do online courses, helping people learn how to take their expertise and their experience and turn it into online courses where they're actually able to provide other people means of teaching them things. And you can do a one-to-many kind of thing when you're doing online courses. I also teach people how to create their high ticket offer, because most people struggle and do not know how to do that. And then the last course that I teach is helping people who are interested either writing their own book, or if they want to actually need someone to help be a consultant while they're creating their like a collaboration project, because I'm actually certified as an anthologist. So I help people in that regard as well. So those are like courses that I teach. And then of course I have my private coaching private coaching courses, my one-on-one, my group, as well as membership as well. So those are like the different touch points that I provide.
Wow. That's a lot of services. That well done, and you're in the military as well. So.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Share with us just a little bit from a practical perspective. We did chat a little bit before we started recording, but just how have you managed to incorporate all those different activities in your life without kind of burning out or without feeling overwhelmed?
Because, well, I have two things that I talked about beforehand. I have this thing called the BNI method, boundaries and intention. But the first thing important is I'm a foundation builder. I'm a person that believes in you have to set a solid foundation for your business in order for it to grow. What I've often seen is that entrepreneurs, when we're first starting out, we run out there and we're adding all these services and different things that we want. I want to do this. I want to do this. I want to help this person. I want to, and all these things, but there's no solid foundation. So when you do that, you get overwhelmed, you get burnt out. And so how I started my business, once I got very clear of who I serve and who I want to work with, I started adding different variations. I went through a lot of courses, a lot of trainings, looked at things that I like to do, things that I don't like to do, and just really started building my foundation from there. So that's how I end up being able to offer so much without feeling overwhelmed, because it's a step-by-step things that I added. The other part to that is I have very clear boundaries and intention when it comes to my time. And so even if I say, you know what, today I am doing absolutely nothing and I'm watching TV all day long, that's what I'm doing. That's the intention. I'm not sitting there going, oh my gosh, I should be writing this article for this magazine, or I should be building this course. No, I'm not doing that. I'm watching TV and I'm happy about it. I actually Fridays I work during the daytime, and then in the afternoon, I do absolutely nothing on Fridays. I reverted back to how I was in graduate school. All my education, I got 2 masters, actually 3 masters. All of my education, including my undergrad, I worked full time, was a single mom, and was going to school full time. All of it. So I converted back to how did I manage that? I was clear with my time and my intentions, and that's how I added with my business. And so that's the way that you actually navigate. So very clear with my time and with my everything that I do. So yeah.
Yeah, that's really good, and that's very practical as well. Like I think a lot of the time we trip up because we're not as disciplined or as clear as to how we spend our time. And yeah, it's important that we factor in some kind of me time, the unwinding, the I'm not working on the business or in the business time. This is me, human being, living, just being who I am. Yeah. No, that's really good. Yeah. I'm not as busy as you, but yeah, I think I struggle more than what you do at keeping things right. I don't know. I'm better than what I was. I am very organized, so I don't know. Maybe I'm a bit hard on myself, but yeah, I just think, wow, how do you do all that and yeah, help people and the way you do? So, well done. I think that's very admirable as well.
Thank you. And if I could add something to that, when you talk about you're very hard on yourself, that's another thing that I had to learn, because there was a time where I felt like I always had to be busy. This is before I started my business again. Like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? I have to be, I should be doing something. I should be doing this. Oh my gosh, I'm being lazy. And I was super hard on myself. But then when I gave into that, I'm like, no, like it's okay to have moments where you don't want to do anything. And it's okay. So when I started being kind to myself is really when things started to help, like growing for me. And this is like outside of business, just in my own life, my personal life and everything else like that. Because if you don't take care of you, who else will? And if you can't take care of yourself, you can't take care of anyone else. And so that's why it was important for me to say, yes, while my why is to help other people, I'm not really helping people if I'm not taking care of myself.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I like that. It's very good. Very good. Yeah. I would probably say exactly the same thing to other people. So it's funny, isn't it? How I think I do all right. Yeah, but always good to improve. And you're inspiring me. That's what it is. I'm thinking,
well, thank
surely
you.
I can max more stuff in that, because I never run out of things I'd like to do. It's the priority kind of issue more, never enough hours in the day. A lot of it doesn't feel like work. It's actually stuff I want to do, but it's just, pace yourself, isn't it? You don't have to do it all today. You don't have to do it all this week. So No, that's really helpful. Maybe as we're sort of wrapping up our conversation today, but just tell us a little bit. There'll be a link to your website below wherever people listen to this, but is the website the best place to go first to find out all of what you do?
Yes, it is. And in fact, as we're speaking, my Work With Me page is being updated as well. That has all my different courses, has a link where people can schedule a call. It's where all my social media, you can find me. I'm on Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook. I'm not on TikTok. So, people are constantly like, you should get on TikTok. No, I'll let other people do it. Maybe if I do, it's for the benefit of posting on doing reels or something like that. But literally on my Facebook on my website is where all the different touch points of what I do and where I am. So that's a nice, easy way to get in contact with me.
Yeah, absolutely. And they can get your book as well through the website, or books?
Yes, there's 3 different ones there. And then I'm actually working on the 4th one as we, right now as well. So, so it's constantly stuff that I got going on.
So you're on your 4th book because you got bored and didn't manage to
No, well, it's always about adding value, and they're collaboration books. I write a chapter inside of them of different ones. So one of them was called Teacher Expertise, about the online. Now it's about teaching people how to leverage their expertise. How do you take that online course and leverage it for your benefit, whether it's your time or money or different things like that. So it's really always about providing value, because people have different touch points that they come into your life. So that is why, like with the podcast, I started my podcast, Decide to Move, for the simple fact that there's business owners, entrepreneurs, people who are transitioning, people who want to start their business, and they don't have the means to hire a coach. So they'll listen to the podcast and they get great ideas until they're ready to be able to hire a coach, because every coach definitely has to have a coach. That's just me and what that's like a football player not having a coach. Yeah. I mean, literally. And then the second level will be books, right? Having books that actually provide you some more strategies and stuff like that. It's a higher price point, like $20, but it's not that much. And then the next one will be having a small course. And then the next one will be actually having a coach. So it's different layers that people can actually contact and connect with me. And I think every entrepreneur, honestly, that's the best strategy for you to grow your business, but also be able to help your clients. So that's why I do what I do.
Yeah, no, it's really good. Like, as you know, we see the value of podcasts in lots of different ways. You can do it. You listen to something while you're in the gym, cooking, whatever. You don't necessarily need to be watching it. You can just put it on, listen. And if you get 1 or 2 nuggets, it's worth all the time. Otherwise, from my perspective, if the radio's on, it's like most of that I'm not particularly keen on. I can't pick what I listen to within that. It's just one thing after the other. Not that I'm against radio stations. I think they have a good place for certain people. It's just personal preference. I want to be more intentional about what I'm picking up and listening to. It's kind of like eating a meal, isn't it? You pick the food that you want to cook or you want to prepare, or if you go out and eat, you order specific. You don't just turn up and go, oh, whatever, just bring me what you've lined up for today. It's like, it might be good, but might not be what you want to eat. So yeah, it's being intentional. So I hear what you're saying. Yeah, definitely on that. So talking of being intentional, as lovely as I'd love to chat with you a lot more, maybe you should come back again at some point when the next book's out, or a convenient time. You could share some more things with us and that. But everything you shared today has been really, really useful, really practical. I hope everybody listening has taken 1 or 2 things at least that they can put into practice. Maybe it sparks that, that's the thing that I needed to hear, because I've been doing it this way and I need to tweak it slightly and just change and do it that way. Like using your client's language. That's one of mine, amongst a few others. But yeah, so thank you for your time and for fitting us in your busy schedule. But it's a very well planned schedule. So well done, commendable to that. And yeah, hopefully you'll come back and share more with us at some point. That would be amazing.
Most definitely. You just let me know when I'm there.
Okay, that sounds great. So for everybody listening, as we end this now, head to Monica's website. There's definitely going to be something there that she can help you with. Listen to this again as well, get more tips from it. Start putting the things into action. We believe that you can do it. We're here to help you. Monica is, as well as ourselves. Just be proactive. Just one thing at a time. Build upon the next thing. It's not difficult, but we have to be persistent and proactive about it. So with all of that wisdom that Monica shared, and a little bit maybe from me, I will leave you for now, and we will catch you on the next episode.
Thank you for listening to Yeukai Business Show. We will be back to bring you more episodes with success stories and advice straight from the experts. Want more? Check out www.yeukai.businessshow.com. Get your free trial of our virtual assistant service today. Just visit www.worldoutsourcingsolutions.com. Quote WOS18 or send us an email at support@worldoutsourcingsolutions.com.